Hello and welcome to Jill Cameron Creations. Today we are going to look at how to create a masculine Valentine's Day card. As I was doing this, I know that I still like to put glittery stuff and shiny stuff on cards, but how do you make that look not girly? This is a retired stamp set from Concord and Ninth, and it has a heart in it that has wood grain that looks like the end of logs in it. And I centered that up in the middle of some Desert Storm Nina cardstock, and I'm going to heat emboss this in gold. And I wanted to keep the card really simple, but still have it have some depth and shine to it. So I came up with this method, this idea. I'm using Simon Says Stamp embossing ink for most of this. It's the first time I think I had used it when I made this card, and I make cards and do videos and stuff out of order that I make them, so it was one of the first times, if not the first time, that I used it. And I'm using Simon Says Stamp Antique and Gold embossing powder. Love the gold embossing powder. I'm honestly not thrilled with the embossing ink. I have gotten used to Versamark over the years, and I just really like my Versamark ink, and I'm hard pressed to give it up. And it is what it is. Hi, Nina. Hi, baby. Get down. That's my oldest cat. She's fussing at me about something. And I heat emboss this, and the embossing powder is amazing. I love the embossing powder. It's a beautiful color, especially on that Nina Desert Storm cardstock. Absolutely love it. It's beautiful. But anyway, I heat emboss the image. It's all nice and shiny and pretty. My coffee filter to be able to funnel my embossing powder back into my little container and put the lid on it, and ta-da, disappears. Everything's all cleaned up nice and good. Then I took the coordinating die and went ahead and die cut this out of the middle of my panel. I'm going to continue to use the outside of that. I'm going to use the negative space of that, and also use a little bit of washi tape to hold my die in place, and I use a Platinum 6 by Spellbinders die cutting machine that I absolutely love. I always have really good results from it, and it's an amazing die cutting machine. So the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and die cut 3 black hearts. And the reason that I did it out of black is so that it has a little edge to it, so that not everything is white and brown. It has a little edge to it, and it actually gives the card a little bit more depth in real life, because it looks like that the heart is a lot thicker than what it is, because you see that black outline behind it, and it just the faintest hint of it. So it's actually really, really cool. It makes that heart look like it's a lot thicker than what it is. So I die cut 3 of those, and then I'll just use some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to adhere all 3 of those together, and then put the die cut gold embossed heart on the top. And that takes just a second to do. So while we're doing that, I have no idea why my cat is bothering me right now. She decided that she needed some attention, so she's going to come over here and quack at me. We say she quacks all the time because when she was probably about 3, she decided to drink water out of the Christmas tree, and they had put whatever they put on Christmas trees, a live Christmas tree, and it messed up her throat really bad, and she couldn't meow for years. And now she's decided that when she does meow, she kind of sounds like a duck quacking. And she really wants to bother me today, so if you hear her meowing, just enjoy her talking to you. I'm not going to apologize for her, because she's a good kitty. But she's my oldest. She's 12. Nope, I take that back. She's 15. She's my oldest kitty. Daisy is her sister, who is bless her heart, not the brightest cat on the face of the planet. She wakes us up in the middle of the night screaming at the top of her lungs because she's in the hallway and can't find her way to the bedroom. I love her to death. She's a cuddle bug, but hearing her scream in the middle of the night is not something that's enjoyable. Nina just curls up and goes to sleep. She just looks at Daisy like, you're crazy. I don't have any children, so I don't have any crazy kid stories. We do have 5 grandchildren, though. Chip has 2 daughters, and his oldest has 5 children. And we get to see them probably maybe about once a month. She works for the U.S. Postal Service, so she works crazy weird hours, and shifts change and all that kind of stuff all the time. So when we see them, and we talk to her a lot and spend time with grandkids, and she's a tired mama. Back to the card. So now I am going to adhere my negative space panel, which I die cut with a stitched frame from My Favorite Things, and I'm just going to adhere this to a top folding 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base, and it's Nina Solar white 110 pound cardstock that I'm using. And then I'm just going to puzzle piece this right back in there as if it were just like doing die cut inlay, but the die cut's going to stand up a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll set that aside. So I didn't want to add like anything else around the heart. I wanted the heart to be the only thing on the front of the card. So what I did was, and I'm still using the same stamp set, and I pulled off the let's just stay in and cozy up sentiments off of the stamp set. And what I decided to do was white heat emboss them on some acetate. And if you've never heat embossed on acetate, take a look at the rest of this video, because I show mistakes, and I also show a couple of different I have 2 different inks that I'm using. I've tried the Simon Says stamp clear embossing powder, and also go back to my Versamark. So heat resistant acetate, it's not warp proof. It just will stand up a little bit longer than just regular acetate will. So be careful with it. When you actually heat it, you want to keep the heat gun moving, and you don't want to hold it on there for too long. So just keep that in mind. I'm using my heart here to determine how wide my piece needs to be for my acetate. And you want to also make sure that you use an enormous amount of anti-static powder tool. I'm not talking just, oh, well, we'll just tap it a couple times. I'm talking about make sure your fingers are covered in it. Sorry, I have to clean up my my Misty really quick so I don't get trash all over my acetate sheet. So what I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to use my heart die to determine the placement on my acetate so that I can make sure that I'm not getting it off center or anything like that in the paper. So I'm going to start with my largest word first, and then I'm going to put my smaller words around it and fit those all in there and make sure that I'm not worried about it perfect placement in the heart. I'm just making sure that it's enough room there. And of course my acetate is a little bit larger than that. So that's what I'm doing there. So here's my first attempt. And I left my mistakes in here because everybody can learn from mistakes. So I put anti-static powder tool down thinking, oh, that's going to be enough. And then I used Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing Powder, and here we go. Ta-da! The good thing about acetate is you can wipe it off if it doesn't work. If it's too smeary, if it's just too much extra stuff there, or if it's smeared or whatever, you can wipe it off and start over. That's the great thing about it. So here I added my embossing powder, and the Very first thing I notice is at the bottom, it is a pile of embossing powder, and it just smushed the whole entire bottom. So I couldn't use that one, and I tried to brush it off and look at it, and it so then I just brushed all the extra off that I could and put it back in the jar. And then I'm just going to use my microfiber cloth and wipe it off. Nina, honey, I love you, but you need to go away right now. Go away, please. Take my microfiber cloth and just wipe it off really good. And make sure you wipe off the front and the back, and then coat it in anti-static powder tool. And I mean, just coat it really, 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 really well. So then I said, okay, well, I'll continue to try to use the Simon Says Stamp ink, and I didn't like it, especially doing this. I just didn't like it. I didn't press as hard that time, but it still was really, really, really smeary. So even after this attempt, which was a little bit better, I think I even heat set this one. I still just didn't like it. It was still not, the words weren't very clear on the bottom, and I just didn't like it. So I did heat set it, and then I switched to back to Versamark. And when I switched back to Versamark, I loved it. It was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted. So I guess the moral of this story is, just because everybody's using it doesn't mean that you have to. The only reason that I used it is because I got it in a kit, and I'm still a Versamark girl. Give me my Versamark any day of the week. So we're going to try this for the last time now. See, I like including mistakes so that you can see those, or even attempts at different products, and why I give you the opinion that I give you. So lots of anti-static powder tool, and I did it on the front and the back this time. I wasn't taking any chances with that bad boy, because by this time I was frustrated. Truly, I was frustrated, because I was like, this just looks so easy, but everybody else does it. Why is it when I'm doing it, it's just not working? I need the right product here. So on we go with Versamark ink, and I put it down and made sure that the middle, and I didn't press really hard, and then I added my embossing powder, and it was perfect. Even tapped it off, didn't have to use a brush around anything. Heat set it, ta-da, done. Now, when you go to die cut acetate, grab you a piece of scrap typing paper and make a little folder out of it. Just fold it in half and stick your die in it, and your paper in it, your acetate in it. That way the junk from your cutting plate doesn't get on the acetate, and it doesn't mar it, and it doesn't put lines in it or anything like that. And the only reason that I didn't mess that up was because I know that everything sticks to acetate, and your cutting plates are gross. They've got all kinds of little teeny tiny little pieces of paper in them, and they're all cut up. I mean, that's what they're for. So microfiber cloth, wipe everything off really, really well. Then we're going to die cut this out of that same heart, because we're just going to put this over top, very, very straight, directly over top of our heart that we already have on there. So it looks like that there's, and you could have stamped over top of the texture of the embossing over that. You could have stamped it several times. Let's just stay in and over top of that and let it have some texture to it. I didn't want to do that. I wanted everything to be shiny and pretty and clean and blah blah blah. So that's why I chose to do it this way. Peel everything out. Now, how do you get this to stick to your die cut piece? Itty bitty teeny tiny little drops of adhesive behind all the letters, and you'll never see it. Stays perfect. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now, I did finish up the inside of the card too, which is something that Amy R does over at Prairie Paper and Ink all the time, and I very seldom do. Even if I make cards for people and send them out, I always just do a handwritten message on the inside of them, and I very, very seldom stamp anything on the inside of a card. So I was very proud of myself for doing that. So, little drops of adhesive on the back here and adhere it straight down on top of the heart. Just little dabs of it, and that's it. That's seriously all you need to do. And line it up and it stays there. Ta-da! All pretty. And then we're going to just stamp the inside of the card. And I think I did this in Art Brown, if I'm not mistaken. Nope, sorry about that. Simon Says Stamp Dark Chocolate Ink is what I did to stamp the inside of this in the Cozy Up. So it finishes the sentiment on the inside. And that will be it for this card today. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Head over to my blog for more tips and tricks on all of your card making delights. And sign up for my newsletter as well. You'll get access to my free resource library, and there's like ink charts and stuff in there so that you can, your ink swatch charts. There is some SVG cutting files over there. There's some measurement guides to be able to make some interactive cards without using dies. It's several different things in there, and I'm going to be adding to over the next couple of months as well. I'm thinking about doing a, for some reason the word will not come to me, a sketch email series, a card sketch email series, and maybe a color series as well for inspiration. I tried to do a color series before, and I just couldn't get it together to make it work correctly. So I'm thinking about doing both of those. Leave me a comment down below if that's something that you would be interested in. Also, if you have questions about anything, don't forget to drop me an email anytime. Find me on social media at Jill Cameron Creations. And thanks. Have a great day.